everybody, Carol here at Oakhouse Journals. Big warm welcome from me, and as you saw I was well underway with one of my prompts for assignment 29 in Margarete Miller's weekly collage planner challenge for 2023. As always, I've got my background paper here. The first prompt was typewriter text, and you saw me digging out my old typewriter and typing this, which was Tower at Lindisfarne. So there's my first prompt, typewriter text. Second prompt, something round. I've got these two pieces of paper out. I've got this gorgeous muted gold, very textured, as you can see, very creased paper, and I've used a portion of it fairly recently for my Junk Journal July, or one of my Junk Journal July prompts. But it's absolutely lovely, and I even love the back, which is this soft subtle green as well. So I might use that, but I'm actually thinking this one will be the better to use. Looking at the screen that's immediately in front of me, you're probably seeing this as quite greeny and quite a bright yellow. It is actually a very, very soft lemony colour. It has got greens on it, and it has got browny golden tones, almost coppery tones. The reason I've chosen this piece is because of the next prompt, which is a candy wrapper. Now this is a Werther's original candy wrapper, and this is quite a deep, almost coppery gold on this portion here, which I thought would work well with that little bit up there. The wrapping paper is a soft, I'm not sure if you can see it, maybe if I put it against white. Yeah, there we go. It's a soft lemony colour, which is perfect for this background here. So whilst I've got this piece out, I actually think that I will probably be using this. Now this was a sample of some backgrounds that my lovely friend Jeff in Las Vegas sent me. Hi Jeff, and I'm hoping that he won't mind, because I'm going to sacrifice most of this piece just to get that portion there. Let me put those to one side. The fourth prompt is something dark. Well, I went with something very obvious for this one. I went with a piece of lightweight cardstock in black. The next prompt is a place. Well, I went for Lindisfarne, and in particular this lovely, lovely graphite drawing of Lindisfarne, and I really love this. Now, if Lindisfarne is new to you, it's a tidal island in Northumberland here in the UK, and it's only accessible at certain times by a causeway, which makes it very exciting to go and visit, I have to say. The actual island doesn't look like this. This is the artist's repurposing of some of the buildings that are on Lindisfarne. At the top here, this is known as the arch at the Priory, and it's known as the Rainbow Arch. There is a castle on the island, which is a mixture of a Tudor fort, and then in later times it became a holiday home. There is a brewery there, so that's the brewery. There is a little harbour and fishing boats, which he's popped down here. So it's absolutely a lovely place to visit, and I love this artist's impression of it, so I'm going to be using that. And finally, bonus, a short word. Now, I think Margarete Miller meant by a short word such as at, on, if, to, those kinds of words. But I'm going to go with the word mini, as you can see here, because a short word is relative. You get some words that have lots and lots of letters in them, like the word Lindisfarne. Lindisfarne, I know, has 11 letters in it from having just typed it. So that's my take on it. And as you can see, I have just used the laptop here to print the word mini in 3 different font sizes, because I'm not quite sure what size I want to work with. So let's get started. As I say, I've got a scrap of lightweight cardstock here. Now, I haven't even checked the size, and look at that, it's absolutely perfect from there. It's not quite straight down this edge. It is short top and bottom, but I'm happy with that. So let me level up that edge first. So as you saw, I just took a fraction off all the sides to make sure it's level. The next thing I'm going to do is bring in my image here. Now what I've done with this is I've left a little white border all the way round, just so that you get a distinction between the actual image itself and the black cardstock. I'm always trying to arrange my collages over to the left hand side. I seem to gravitate towards that side, so I'm going to go for central today. I am going to use not all of this, but just enough to show the words Werther's Originals. I'm just going to have that down there, I think. And I was wondering whether to machine stitch this. So I'm just auditioning it at the moment, but I was wondering whether to machine stitch it down there and down there. There are two lines on the wrapping paper here, just on either side of the gold, and I thought I might do that. I'm liking that, so I'm going to glue it. Very decisive today. There we go. I did get a little bit of seepage of the glue coming out on either side there because I used way too much, but I didn't think this would stick very well, so you saw me just trying to tease it back into this middle section. So I'm just going to leave that to dry for a minute or two as I play with some other bits. I'm going to put this to one side because I'm thinking I probably won't use it. Now, what I thought I would do with this would be to cut out a circle. I've lifted out my multi-matte medium and I'm going to use that as a template to draw around. And cut this out. I'm actually cutting inside the line and just using the line as a guide. Pop that to one side. I'm just going to pop this behind here like this. Now immediately I'm thinking that that is too big for what I want. I'm going to have to come in with something smaller, so I'm going to find something smaller that I can draw around. I've got this, which is Rust Effect Pace. Yeah, I think that's a lot better. I'm even liking that there. No, I think I need that portion showing. That up there like that. It would be nice to have it on the top. Let me pop this down at the bottom, straighten that up. I'm going to have this slightly overlapping so that it's coming off on the right hand side and at the bottom. I'm going to stitch down here with black thread down that line and this line. I'm going to have to trim this off on either side. But I'm liking how that's looking at the moment. And I'm wondering about stitching all the way around on my picture itself, and even that perhaps. Oh, lots of options today. So Tower at Lindisfarne, this was my piece of typewritten text. Have that across the top like that. I'm going to need to trim it down a little bit on that side. And the word mini in here. Let's have a look at what size I've got. I'm going to chop these out with my guillotine and see which looks best. Bring in my piece. I decided not to use the big one. I think that's too big, but I thought this one might be a good one to use, like that. If I tuck that behind, then I can get an idea of what it will look like, but I actually think it would be nice to have that overlapping up there a little bit. And I'm thinking that I will ink round the edge of that. Let's change this one out and go with the small one. The white paper that I've typed on is almost lost up there, even though it does kind of go with the overall look. I think what I'll do is ink round the edges of that. I think that would be better. And I'm thinking that this one is going to be better up there. Yeah, I'm liking that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stitch around my circle, definitely going to do that. Just pausing now whether to stitch around the picture or not. And I need to make that decision before I do the stitching here, because I want to have the picture glued onto the background when I stitch this bit. Okay, first things first, I'm going to stitch round that circle there. Stitch around my circle, so I'm going to use some hickory smoke just to define the edge. I'm not too sure whether to stitch around this image next, so I'm just going to have a quick look and see what it looks like and then make a decision. I like the clean lines, I don't want to spoil it with stitching, but I am going to stitch this piece on at the bottom down here. I'm going to go for black and carry on that theme. I need to glue these bits in place, so let me do that. This is what my stitching looks like now. This one was the first one I did. It went a little bit wonky, but that's not a problem. Just going to flip it over and trim off my threads, get those thrown away. Just going to flatten those down a little bit before I glue it down. And that's what it looks like now. Now these are too big, so I need to either trim them down, but what I was actually wondering was whether or not to just scrunch them at the bottom so that it doesn't look such a regimented collage, and I was wondering whether or not to just scrunch these down at the bottom like that, and I think I will. See if I can get these to hold, and I might have to put some clips on these just to hold them. I'm not liking the inking that I've done round this piece, and in fact I'm not liking the inking that I've done round my circle, but I'm not going to change my circle. But I have typed out another piece of typewriter text, and I'm going to just pop that on there over the top of the one that's inked. It's not the best solution. The best solution would be to take that up, but that's glued now. I might just snip off a little off that end. You can still see a little bit of the original one underneath, so I'm just going to have that like that over the top, and the edges aren't straight by any means. Oh, Carol, not having a good day today, so I'm going to try see if I can snip that any better. Probably be better off with some smaller scissors, but we'll see. There we go, that's a bit better. Okay, so that's going to go on my piece like that in just 1 second when these are dry. So I'm just going to have a look and see if these are dry. And they haven't stuck down particularly well, but they're going to get ruffled or flattened in the journal when this eventually goes in a journal, so I'm not too bothered about that, but I am liking this better than actually cutting it off. So I'm going to glue this onto my background piece. So here we go, everybody. This is my finished piece for this week. It needs to flatten out a little bit. And looking at the prompts, if I bring those in, typewriter text, well, I've got this piece across the top here. Something round, well, I've got that lovely art scrap. And a candy wrapper, I've got my scrunch wrappers down at the bottom. Something that's dark, I've got my black cardboard or lightweight cardboard in the background there. A place, well, I've got this drawing of Lindisfarne, and the bonus, a short word. Well, I went with mini rather than a proposition style of word. I went with short, as in short in terms of the number of letters in the word. And actually thinking about it, you could perhaps use an acronym on your piece, an abbreviated word, because that in effect is a shortened word. But anyway, I went with short as in number of letters. So there we go, everybody. A bit of a monochromatic one this week, but with a couple of pops of colour to try and balance it out. I hope you enjoyed seeing this one come together. I know I certainly enjoyed doing it. It came together really quickly. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care now. Bye-bye.